In 1977, I graduated from Arroyo Grande High School, which is the same high school that Zac Efron graduated from. So I hear, although I wouldn't know Zac Efron from anybody on the street. I mean, I just know he's famous. Zac Efron, Arroyo Grande High School. So graduated from Arroyo Grande High School in 1977, and two things about me at the time. One, I was incredibly naive, which is really a function of my good parenting, my stable home life. You just really don't get a lot of street smarts if you have a strong home life. The other thing was that I was a goody two-shoes. Oh my goodness. Straight and narrow, which made me such a boring person. I think I was really boring as a teenager, which is why I thought the 1970s were so boring. One thing that was really important to me was going to a 4-year college. That I graduated from high school, 77, and I wanted to go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. My parents wanted me to go to the local junior college, which was Cuesta College. And it was one of the few and rare times that it was an outright disagreement with my parents. I want to go to Cal Poly. You're going to Cuesta College. I spent the entire summer campaigning to live on campus, even though Cal Poly was only half an hour down the road. I wanted to live on campus and get that college experience. So the whole summer long, campaigned. I had good grades. It was what I really wanted to do. Financially, they could pay for my meal ticket because they would have paid for my food if I was at home anyway, right? My great aunt would cover my expenses for my dorm, and I could pay my units and books back in the day myself. Finally, by the end of the summer, yes, they relented, and I got to go got to go do my 4-year thing at Cal Poly. But I had campaigned for so long that by the time I really convinced them, it was the first day of school. So I got to Cal Poly and had gotten my dorm assignment, but hadn't even gone to my dorm, hadn't even moved in yet. I went to my first day of class before I even moved into the dorms. So the very first class I took there was zoology. Now in the future, when you see zoology, do not pronounce it zoology. It is zoology, which we all were shamed into knowing day one, zoology. Horribly hard class. I felt like in that first day of lecture, I had more crammed in my brain than I ever did in the 4 years of high school. So much information. One of the things I had to do that first day was to go to the bookstore and buy books and supplies and all that. And a little bit about what style was like. In my experience in 1977, style then wasn't anything like style now. Style was a very narrow experience. You dressed according to your little group, your little tribe. You could be an Aggie, which was like a cowboy. You could be a surfer. You could be a nerd, or you could just be kind of a generic 70s thing. And within those parameters, you didn't really stray too far. There was not a lot of outlandish dress or fashion. So I'm at the bookstore at Cal Poly, and it is an absolute crush of people. I mean, seriously, 100 people. We were all packed literally like sardines, side by side like this, all just crashed and pressing into the cash registers. And there was a young, petite girl who was wearing this skin-tight leather vest with big brass buttons, sleeveless, and she had skin-tight pants on, and she had a bolero hat. A bolero hat is a round crown here and a really flat rim. And what scandalized me was that she had these brass snake coils on her upper arms. And it was just like, whoa. And we were all kind of crammed together, and you could feel everybody who was right around her. I was like maybe 1 or 2 people away from her. You could feel everybody kind of like looking at each other like, wow, ooh, ooh. Like, just like this little wave all around her. And you could tell she was kind of liking it. She could kind of tell. But it was very scandalous for me. Finally, got through the bookstore, took some more classes, I had actually driven my parents' van to school with all my stuff in there and figuring out how I'm going to get from the parking lot, get my stuff, go park at the dorms. I was in Santa Lucia dorm. at Cal Poly. It's a very classic red brick dorm that all of the Cal State, a lot of the Cal State campuses use these red brick dorms. And I was just, Santa Lucia's second story. I was so excited. So the end of the day, I've taken 1,000,001 notes. It's just been the most packed day of my life. And I finally figure out I'm going to take my van, I'm going to park it here and back in this little spot. I'm going to start moving into my dorm room. And I get upstairs, and I'm really excited about meeting my roommate because so much can depend on how your roommate turns out, right? And I know nothing. I don't think I even knew her name. So I go up there, and I am, for any of you that go to in Santa Lucia Hall, as you go upstairs and you go upstairs and you're facing the back of the dorms and you turn left. I was on the second story, about fifth door down. Put my key in my door, open the door, and who is sitting there as my roommate but little Miss Bolero Girl. I couldn't believe it. This person who'd oh my goodness, these little snake coils, and just had flabbergasted me earlier in the day. That was my roommate. And here's what she was doing as I walked in. She was sitting back in her chair, and she had her booted feet up on her desk, and she was smoking a little tiny cigar. And hi, what was her name? Angela? I really do not remember. PTSD, I can't remember her name. So, hi, I'm Elizabeth, I'm your roommate. She goes, oh, hey, cool. And she's smoking. And I said, oh, I had actually requested a roommate who didn't smoke. And she said, so did I. Oh, okay. And she was a really odd person. Had a really hard time just keeping conversation. She ended up hardly being there at all, going hang out with her boyfriend almost all the time, and I pretty much had the room to myself. But she ended up washing out, didn't make it more than about 6 weeks, and then I had the rest of the quarter, I had the room to myself, which all of my floor mates were kind of jealous of. So I had made friends with another girl on that floor, and initially we hit it off wow. God, we just clicked like that until she started having these habits that were just very annoying, to the point where I was learning so much, being so just rock stupid about how to get along with people. I just started withdrawing from her, and I could tell she was really leaning in and wanting to move into my room with me as my next roommate for the next quarter, because they just fill you in with whoever. And I had to just finally, to her face, say, I don't think so. I don't think you knew nice ways to say that back then. It was just no, thank you. And we actually never spoke again. So the first quarter ends. I get this new roommate who is as different from me as possible. I'm on the Central Coast, a little Miss Goody Two-Shoes, really have never had much of a social life, just study. And this girl she was really nice, but she was super sophisticated, from the Bay Area, and had as much fashion, acceptable fashion, as I had ever seen. Bell bottoms and nice sweaters, and she was a sophisticated Bay Area girl who I had absolutely nothing in common with. We just lived separate lives in that little dorm room for the whole rest of the year. Her boyfriend would come up, and I'd meet him, and they'd go do fun and exciting things, and I'd go study. But one of the funnest things for me that first year at Cal Poly is I was in marching band. I played violin as a kid. I played flute and marching band in high school. They took all comers to be in to the marching band at Cal Poly, so I played flute, and it was so fun. Marching band is the best. We ended up performed for the halftime for the San Diego Chargers, because back then, the halftimes, they would just get a local high school to just do a halftime show. And that's what halftimes were in football, because who cared about halftime back in the day? So that was one of the absolute funnest things. So my first year at Cal Poly super toughened me up. I was a little less dumb by the end of the year, but it was rough. Anatomy, zoology, marching band, roommate drama, my parents wanting me to come home and me just wanting to stay there, but it was all for the good. I had a good time. I was less dumb by the end of my freshman year. Today is day 22,367. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.